THORChain Swaps. Swappers can swap between an external asset and RUNE, for example, Binance Coin to RUNE, or two external assets, for example, Binance Coin to Bitcoin. Swaps happen between assets in liquidity pools. When they swap, swappers may experience a loss of value. That is, the assets they receive may be worth less than the value they initially sent in. This is called slippage. We're going to take a look at two examples today to go through these concepts. First, we'll look at swapping BNB for RUNE, and secondly, we'll look at swapping BNB for BTC. So the first example is that we're going to swap BNB for RUNE. Now, we're going to use a pool. As I mentioned before, when you swap on THORChain, you're swapping across either one pool or two pools. In this case, we're just swapping for RUNE, so it's relatively simple, and we're swapping on a BNB to RUNE pool. You'll notice that the pool is made up of $2.5 million worth of BNB and $2.5 million worth of RUNE, and those numbers should almost always be pretty much identical. The total value of the pool is 5 million, and we'll come back to that later on. So we're going to swap 500 BNB for 86.9 thousand RUNE. Right now, let's look at the prices. So right now, one BNB is worth $14.04 and one RUNE is worth $0.08. So what you can see now is that we're swapping in $7.02 thousand in BNB, so that's 500 times 14.04, and we're receiving $6.98 thousand in terms of in RUNE, and that's 86.9 thousand times 0.08. Now, what you'll notice is that there's a difference in the value of what we are swapping in as to what we're swapping out, and this is called slippage. So the amount of slippage we're seeing here is actually $39.3 or 0.6%. You can think of slippage as a fee, and in actual fact the slippage is collected by THORChain and used to reward node operators and liquidity providers. And you can learn more about that in the system income component. This reward scheme is fundamental to the functioning of the network. So over here you can see down here you can see the slippage as in comparison to the BNB and the RUNE that we're swapping, and over here you can see the total pool value and the swapped BNB value, which is here. So these are important to understand because the slippage is determined by the relationship between the total value in the pool and the amount of BNB, or the input amount that you're swapping. If the swap value rather is high relative to total pool value, then slippage will be high. So let's go ahead and increase the amount that we're swapping and decrease the total value in the pool, and what you'll see is that the slippage here will increase. So if swap value is high relative to total pool value, slippage will be high. On the other hand, if swap value is low relative to total pool value, so if we bring the swap to BNB down and we pull the total value up, well, that's actually a little bit ridiculous because we're not even showing any slippage there. Let's increase a little bit. So what you'll see here, we've got low swap in value in comparison to total value in the pool, and slippage is much lower. It's 0.1%. It's very manageable. So this is why it's important to have a lot of value in liquidity pools. It's also why it's important that THORChain gives rewards to liquidity providers. Otherwise, it would be difficult to create high-value, deep pools. If pools don't have a lot of value, slippage will be high and THORChain won't be an attractive place to swap assets. And so that's why liquidity rewards are so important. So now let's look at a slightly more complicated example, which is swapping BNB to BTC. Now you'll notice that instead of using one pool, we're actually using two pools. So in this case, you're swapping in BNB and you're receiving out BTC. You'll see again that we're looking at the total pools value here. The input pool has a total value of $7.5 million, split equally, as always, between the input and the output. And the output pool also has an equal split of $4.8 million of RUNE, $4.8 million of BTC. So let's run through another example, and you can see how this one works in relation. So we're swapping in 500 BNB again, and this time we're receiving 1 BTC. That's $7,000 in BNB and $6.95 thousand in Bitcoin. Again, just to show you how that's calculated, that is 500 times 14 for the value coming in, and 1 times 6.9 thousand roughly for the value going out. Again, there's a difference between the value of incoming assets and outgoing assets, i.e. you're putting in more than you're getting out, and that means that there's a slippage. There's a slippage of $46.5 in this case, or 0.7. You can see that in this visualization below. The slippage is very, very small here because, well, we'll go into why in a second, but it's just worth seeing that the slippage is relatively low here. So again, in this case, we have a relatively high total pools value in relation to the value which is being swapped. If we increase the amount of BNB which is being swapped, and we decrease the total value of the pools, that's a little bit too much, then you'll see that the slippage goes up. So here the total pools value is 2.4 million and the value which is being swapped is 14,000, and so the slippage is relatively high. You're losing about 10% on that trade. On the other hand, if we reduce the amount which is being swapped and we increase the total, if we max the value of these pools out, obviously there's no maximum value of these pools, I don't think, but just for the case of simplicity of these sliders there is. Now the swap value is low, you can't even see it on here, and the total pools value is high, and so the slippage is also low.